What started as a normal morning on The View turned into pure chaos the second Donald Trump interrupted Whoopi Goldberg mid-sentence. He didn't just talk over her. He went straight for the throat with a vicious personal insult, mocking her looks, her career, and her credibility in front of a stunned live audience. For a moment, Trump looked like he had won, smirking like the king of the ring who just knocked out his opponent. But Whoopi didn't flinch. She sat there in complete silence, then hit him with one calm, devastating question that ripped the mask off everything. A question so explosive it left Trump speechless, and the entire studio gasping in shock. It was supposed to be just another episode of The View. But from the very first minute, the air in the studio already felt different, thicker, heavier. Whoopi Goldberg sat at the center of the table, calm as ever. She wasn't fidgeting or checking notes. She just sat there with her glasses on, looking steady and ready. Everyone knew Whoopi didn't back down from hard topics. Today she planned to talk about leadership and honesty, what real fairness looked like when someone was running the country. She wasn't smiling much, but she wasn't tense either. She looked like a woman who already knew exactly where this conversation might go. Then the big moment hit. The side door opened and Donald Trump walked in with that signature swagger. Head high, shoulders back, wearing his usual dark suit and that confident grin that said he owned every room he stepped into. The audience exploded. Cheers, claps, and a few loud whoops filled the studio. Some people stood up. Others just leaned forward. Trump waved like he was at a rally, soaking it all in before he took his seat right across from Whoopi. For the first couple of minutes, things actually felt normal. Trump gave short, punchy answers about the economy and border security. Whoopi nodded politely, asked follow-ups in her clear, no-nonsense voice, and let him speak. The co-hosts jumped in here and there with light questions. There were even a few laughs when Trump cracked a quick joke about the media. The audience relaxed a little. It seemed like it might stay civil after all. But then Whoopi leaned forward slightly, her tone shifting just enough to make people pay closer attention. "Mr. Trump," she said, her voice steady, "you talk a lot about fairness and putting America first. But let me ask you this. When it comes to real leadership, how do you define fairness? Does it mean everyone plays by the same rules, even the people closest to you?" The question landed heavier than the ones before it. The studio got noticeably quieter. A few people in the front row stopped shifting in their seats. Trump suddenly cut her off. His voice boomed across the studio, loud and sharp, completely drowning her out. He didn't wait for her to finish even one sentence. He just jumped right in, talking over her like she wasn't even there. The mic picked up every word, and the whole room heard it clear as day. "You know what, Whoopi? I've heard enough of this nonsense," Trump said, his tone aggressive and dismissive. "You sit here acting like you're some kind of moral authority, but let's be real. You've been attacking me for years, and everybody knows why. It's because you can't stand that I tell the truth and you can't handle it." The audience froze. Gasps rippled through the seats. People who had been clapping just minutes earlier now sat stunned, mouths slightly open. One woman in the third row actually put her hand over her mouth. The co-hosts looked shocked too. One of them started to speak but stopped mid-sentence, clearly caught off guard by how fast things had turned ugly. But Trump wasn't done. He leaned forward, pointing his finger across the table, and kept going, his voice getting even louder. "Look at you. You talk about fairness. You? With your record? You're the one who's been spreading lies and hate for decades. And let's not pretend. You're not exactly a role model yourself. Your whole career is built on playing the victim card. People are tired of it. They see right through you. You're all talk and no substance, just like the rest of the Hollywood elites who think they're better than everyone else." The insults hit hard and personal. He wasn't just criticizing her politics anymore. He went straight for her character, her reputation, even threw in shots that felt aimed at her appearance and the way she carried herself on TV. The studio fell into a heavy silence for a moment. No one clapped. No one laughed. The energy that had been electric with excitement just seconds ago now felt tense and uncomfortable. Several audience members shifted in their seats, whispering to the person next to them. The co-host next to Whoopi looked pale, eyes wide, like she couldn't believe what she was hearing on live television. Whoopi didn't fire back right away. She sat completely still for about 3 long seconds. The camera caught every detail, her hands resting calmly on the table, her face showing no panic. Then she slowly reached up and adjusted her glasses, her movements deliberate and controlled. She lifted her eyes and looked straight at Trump, locking her gaze on him without blinking. There was no anger on her face yet, but something else was there, a quiet strength that made the whole studio feel heavier. In that short pause, the audience could feel it. This wasn't just a disagreement anymore. Something bigger was coming. The air crackled with anticipation. A few people leaned forward, hearts beating faster, sensing that the real storm was about to break. Trump, on the other hand, leaned back in his chair with a smug smirk spreading across his face. He looked satisfied, like he had just landed a knockout punch and won the round. He even gave a small chuckle, as if he expected Whoopi to stay quiet or stumble. Whoopi sat there for those 3 long seconds, letting the weight of Trump's personal attack settle over the studio. Then she spoke. Her voice was calm, steady, and ice-cold. She didn't raise it. She didn't sound emotional. She just looked straight at him and dropped the question that changed everything. If you're so sure about everything, Mr. Trump, why have you never agreed to a DNA test for Barron? The words hit the room like a slap. The audience froze instantly. Gasps turned into total silence. People stopped breathing for a moment, eyes locked on the stage. Some leaned forward in their seats. Others clutched the armrests. No one had seen this coming. The co-hosts went wide-eyed. One of them actually froze with her mouth half open. The studio lights suddenly felt brighter, harsher, like they were shining directly on the tension between the two of them. Whoopi didn't wait for the shock to fade. She kept her eyes locked on Trump and pushed even harder, her voice still calm but now carrying real steel. Let's do the test right here, right now. We can arrange it live. Let the nation see the truth and put all those whispers about you and Ivanka to rest once and for all. No more rumors, no more dodging, just the facts. The challenge landed even heavier the second time. The entire audience was holding its breath now. You could feel the electricity in the room, a mix of disbelief, excitement, and pure shock. A few people whispered, "Oh my God," under their breath. Phones that weren't supposed to be out were now recording openly. This wasn't just a tough question anymore. This was a direct, personal demand on live national television, and everyone knew it. Trump's face changed in real time. The smug smirk he had been wearing just seconds earlier vanished completely. His eyes widened for a split second, then narrowed. He looked genuinely thrown off for the first time since the show started. He shifted in his chair, trying to regain control, and let out a short, sarcastic laugh. "Oh, please, Whoopi, that's ridiculous. You're reaching now. This is what happens when people run out of real arguments. They start making up wild conspiracy theories. Sad, really. Very sad." He tried to wave it off with that familiar dismissive tone, rolling his eyes and shaking his head like the whole thing was beneath him. But his voice didn't carry the same confidence anymore. There was a slight edge to it, a hint that he was scrambling to deflect. Whoopi didn't let him finish. She cut right back in, still calm, still in control. But now she brought out the first piece of evidence she had prepared. Really? Because back in 2018, you yourself said on record, "I have great genes. My family has incredible genes." You've bragged about your bloodline for years. So if that's true, why not prove it? Why not take the test and show everyone there's nothing to hide? Or are you afraid the results might not match the story you've been telling? She delivered the quote cleanly, without raising her voice, but the words landed hard. The audience reacted immediately. Some people nodded, others murmured in agreement. A low buzz spread through the seats as people processed what she had just thrown back at him. Trump's face tightened. He opened his mouth to respond, but Whoopi kept the pressure on, her eyes never leaving his. Trump wasn't about to let Whoopi take control without fighting back hard. His face turned redder, and he leaned forward aggressively, pointing his finger across the table again. This time he went straight for her past, trying to flip the script and put her on the defensive. "You want to talk about family and truth, Whoopi? Let's talk about your past instead, he shot back, his voice loud and mocking. You've had multiple marriages, multiple controversies, and let's not forget all the times you've been accused of exactly the kind of things you're trying to pin on me now. You're no saint. You've got skeletons in your closet bigger than anything you're imagining here. People remember your history. Maybe you should clean up your own mess before coming after me. The personal attack landed heavy again. Some audience members shifted uncomfortably, while others looked shocked at how low he was willing to go. The co-hosts exchanged quick glances, clearly uneasy with the direction things were heading. But Whoopi stayed completely calm. She didn't flinch or raise her voice. Instead, she reached under the table and pulled out a small tablet that had been prepared. With a few taps, she played a short clip right there on the studio monitors for everyone to see and hear. It was Trump himself from a few years earlier, speaking proudly at a rally. I believe in strong family values. My family is built on loyalty, honesty, and traditional American principles. That's what I stand for. The clip ended. Whoopi looked back at Trump, her tone still measured but cutting. You talk about family values and loyalty all the time, yet these persistent rumors about your relationship with Ivanka keep circulating. How do you square that with the family values you just bragged about in this clip? This is your own words, Mr. Trump. Care to explain the contradiction? The evidence hit the room hard. Murmurs spread through the audience. Some people nodded, recognizing the hypocrisy. Trump tried to brush it off with a wave of his hand and another sarcastic laugh, but it didn't land as cleanly this time. Before he could fully respond, a new explosion erupted from the audience. A woman in the middle rows suddenly stood up. The show's producers had given her a live mic, and she spoke loud and clear, her voice shaking with emotion but determined. I've heard these rumors directly from someone inside your inner circle, she said, loud enough for the whole studio to hear. They told me the whispers have been going on for years. It's not just online gossip. It came from people who worked with you. The studio erupted in chaos for a moment. Gasps and whispers filled the air. Trump immediately tried to cut her off, raising his voice and pointing at her. Sit down. That's fake news. You don't know what you're talking about. This is ridiculous. He looked furious, trying to shout her down. But Whoopi stepped in quickly, raising her hand to protect the woman and calm the situation just enough. Hold on, Whoopi said firmly, her voice still calm but strong. This woman is speaking as a witness on live television. She's sharing what she heard. Will you call this witness a liar right here on live TV, Mr. Trump? Go ahead. Say it to her face. The question hung in the air like a challenge. The audience went quiet again, all eyes on Trump. He hesitated for a second, his mouth opening and closing. The woman remained standing, staring straight at him. The tension was thick enough to feel in the chest. Trump looked cornered, and the room could sense it. The confrontation kept escalating. Trump suddenly pushed his chair back and started to stand up, his face twisted in anger. That's it. I'm done here, he snapped. I'm not going to sit here and be attacked with these disgusting lies. This show is a disgrace. He looked ready to walk off the set. The co-hosts looked alarmed. But Whoopi rose slightly from her own chair, not fully standing but enough to command the space. Her voice stayed calm, yet it carried real power and finality. You can walk away if you want, Mr. Trump, but the question will follow you forever. The rumors won't disappear just because you leave the stage. They'll stay with you. A few scattered claps started in the audience, then grew a little louder. Not everyone clapped. The room was clearly divided, but the support for Whoopi's stand was starting to show. Trump paused halfway out of his seat, glaring at her. Before he could fully storm off or sit back down, Whoopi delivered one more blow. She picked up a printed fact-check report from the table, a public document that had been circulating online and in media outlets, and slid it across toward him. Here's the third piece, she said, still calm but relentless. This is a public fact-check report detailing the timeline and sources of these rumors. It's all documented. Right here. If you're so confident none of this is true, why don't you sign it right now on live TV and officially deny every claim? Put your name on it and prove to America you have nothing to hide. She pushed the paper closer to him, along with a pen. The studio lights reflected off the document as the camera zoomed in. The audience leaned in even more. the energy crackling with anticipation. Trump stared at the paper, then back at Whoopi, his jaw tight. Trump completely lost his cool. His face turned deep red, and his voice started to shake with anger. He slammed his hand on the table and fired back with everything he had left, the same old tricks that usually worked for him. "This is nonsense! Total witch hunt!" he shouted, sarcasm dripping from every word. "You're desperate, Whoopi. You're deflecting because you have nothing real. I'm not playing these games. If you keep this up, I'll make sure everyone knows how biased and disgusting this show really is. I'll sue the hell out of this network." He kept going, trying to threaten, deflect, and mock all at once, his words coming faster and louder. But Whoopi didn't let him build any momentum. She cut him off again and again with short, sharp questions, her voice staying completely calm and controlled. "Did you or did you not refuse the DNA test? Why are you getting so angry if there's nothing to hide? Is threatening to sue your way of avoiding the truth?" Each question landed like a quick jab, never raising her volume, but never giving him room to breathe. Every time Trump tried to launch into another rant, she interrupted cleanly and brought it right back to the point. The audience could see he was unraveling. His usual confident swagger was gone, replaced by raw frustration and a trembling voice. Then came the biggest explosion of the entire segment. Whoopi reached into a folder on the table and pulled out one final document, a sworn statement from a source inside Trump's inner circle. She had kept this one secret until now. She held it up so the cameras could see it clearly, then began reading a key paragraph out loud in her steady, clear voice. "I personally witnessed multiple private conversations where concerns were raised about the nature of the relationship between Donald Trump and Ivanka Trump. These discussions took place over several years, and the individuals involved expressed serious discomfort with the closeness described." Before she could even finish the sentence, the audience erupted. Loud gasps and "Oh my God!" rippled through the studio. Some people stood halfway up in their seats. The reaction was instant and powerful, a wave of shock mixed with disbelief. The sworn statement made everything feel suddenly real and undeniable. Whispers turned into loud murmurs as people processed what they had just heard on live television. Trump snapped. He shot up from his chair so fast it nearly fell over behind him. He pointed his finger directly at Whoopi, his hand shaking with rage. "You're a liar! This is fake, fabricated garbage!" he yelled, his voice cracking. "How dare you bring this trash on stage? I won't stand for it!" For a moment, it looked like pure chaos was about to break out. He took a step forward like he might storm the table. The audience gasped again. One of the co-hosts jumped in immediately, standing up and waving her hands. "Mr. Trump, please, sit down. This is live television. Let's keep it civil." The co-host's voice was urgent as she tried to calm the situation before it spiraled out of control. Security personnel near the stage even moved closer, ready to step in. The tension in the room was at its absolute peak. Whoopi, however, never stood up. She remained seated the entire time, perfectly composed. She looked straight at Trump, unflinching, and spoke with quiet but unbreakable strength. "This isn't about me, Mr. Trump. It's about truth. Do the test or forever live with the whispers." Her words cut through the noise like a knife. Simple, direct, devastating. They hung in the air even as Trump continued shouting. The climax hit its absolute peak. The audience could no longer stay seated. Half the studio rose to their feet, some clapping loudly in support of Whoopi, others booing and shouting in defense of Trump. The noise became deafening, a chaotic mix of cheers and jeers that filled every corner of the set. Signs of division were everywhere, but the energy was explosive. Trump tried to keep talking, raising his voice even louder to fight for the last word. "This is rigged. You people are..." But his microphone suddenly went dead. The live sound team had cut it off cleanly. Only silence came from his side, while Whoopi's mic stayed hot. He kept gesturing wildly, but no sound came out. The visual was striking. Trump silenced on his own terms, while the woman he had tried to bully sat calmly in control. Whoopi leaned forward slightly, her voice steady and powerful as she delivered the final line that ended the segment on her terms. "The truth doesn't need to shout. It only needs to be spoken once. America is listening." Trump stood up quickly, his face still flushed with anger. He didn't say a word to anyone. He didn't shake hands, didn't nod at the hosts, and didn't even glance at the audience. He just grabbed his jacket and walked straight off the set, shoulders tight, steps fast and heavy. Security had to clear a quick path for him as he disappeared through the side door. The discomfort on his face was impossible to miss. This was not the confident exit he had planned. Whoopi, on the other hand, stayed right where she was. She remained seated for a few seconds, breathing steady, then slowly stood up. Almost immediately, a crowd of audience members rushed toward the stage. People were calling her name, reaching out to shake her hand or simply say, "Thank you." A few even had tears in their eyes. Whoopi smiled politely, shook hands with several of them, and accepted the moment with the same calm she had shown during the entire confrontation. She didn't look triumphant or smug. She just looked composed, like a woman who had done what she believed was right. As the crew began wrapping up and the audience started to file out, one of the co-hosts turned to Whoopi with a microphone still hot and asked the obvious question, "What made you respond that way? What was going through your mind?" Whoopi paused for just a moment, then gave a short, simple answer that cut straight to the point. "When someone crosses the line," she said quietly but clearly, "you don't shout. You just hand them the truth and let it speak." The words were soft, but they carried weight. Several people nearby nodded. A few clapped again. It was the perfect summary of everything that had just happened. No drama, no victory speech, just plain truth. The reaction didn't wait. Even before people left the building, the buzz was already exploding. Audience members who had been there live were pulling out their phones in the lobby, texting friends and posting short videos with captions like, "You have to see what just happened on The View." Clips of Whoopi's DNA question and the sworn statement moment started spreading instantly. People who watched from home were flooding comment sections and group chats, sharing screenshots of Trump's face when the mic got cut. Witnesses who had been in the studio were already being stopped outside by reporters, repeating what they saw and heard with their own eyes. The energy was raw and immediate, the kind of moment that doesn't fade when the cameras stop. By the time the studio lights dimmed and the set grew quiet, one thing was clear. This single exchange wasn't going to disappear. It had already become bigger than the show itself. And now the real question is for you. Was Whoopi out of line, or did she simply say what millions have been thinking for years? Let me know your thoughts. The conversation didn't end when the cameras turned off. It's still going on right now,